Welcome back to He Said, She Said, the Gen X Survival Guy. I'm Angie D. Geranimo, a Silicon Valley performance coach, author, and your midlife Mojo champion.
You're my champion, Angie. I'm Brian Asher. I'm an artist and a coach and your co-pilot for today's ride through the messy and magnificent middle age.
What is that?
It's a music thing.
Okay. So today, hold tight because we're going to dig into a topic that hits home for so many of us. Ladies, does it feel like life sold you that superwoman dream, but now you're drowning in endless to-dos, and yet you never feel like you're going to catch up on anything ever?
Well, you're not alone. So today we're talking about that Gen X dream, the midlife reality, and also this thing called weaponized incompetence, which is a new thing they're talking about in relationships. So buckle up, Angie. This could get bumpy.
Okay, I'm in. All right. Gen X women grew up believing we could have it all, the career, the family, all with personal fulfillment, right? We grew up with this larger than life promise that we could do everything.
Do you remember that 80s perfume ad? The one with the blonde, she would like crush it at work, and then you see her in the kitchen cooking up a major gourmet meal, and then she'd be doing it all like putting the kids to bed with a little black dress and those high heels.
I can bring home the bacon, fry it up in a pan. Yes,
Angie,
I'm a wall. Okay.
we said no singing.
I
All right.
know the song. I know the song.
It's a good one. So 20 years later, many women are feeling it in a different way. There's massive stress, there's burnout, and, they're quietly seething.
That is so true. Quietly, we're just fine. On the outside, we're just fine.
Yeah,
Right?
fine. I know what fine stands for, Angie.
Do you?
Yep.
Do you?
Means fucked up, insecure, neurotic, and emotional.
Yes, and as midlife hits, many of us are asking, have I failed?
Yeah.
So here's the truth. This isn't about personal failure. It's about systems, myths, and chronic burnout. Because having it all isn't the same as doing it all.
Right on. And as Ada Calhoun says, what we don't talk about enough is how the deck is stacked against women, right? So today we're going to tackle three big issues, and we're going to start with the reality of the Superwoman syndrome.
Second, how does our perfectionism and need to control everything contribute to the problem?
And finally, we're going to confront the elephant in the room, which is if women are feeling so stressed out and overwhelmed, where are their partners in all of this? And that's when we're going to dissect this thing called weaponized incompetence.
And then, as always, we'll get you into the tips and tools that we call our little wonders, and you can use those to get your mojo back.
All right.
All right, Brian, remember when you were younger and the world said you could do anything, be anyone? It was empowering, but it came without a warning label.
I wanted to be an astronaut.
Right? Oh, see that?
Yeah. So Gen X women were the first to grow up in this era of you can have it all. But decades later, the reality is not so pretty. I did read a statistic, Angie, that 20% of us in this age group are on antidepressants.
It doesn't surprise me, but that stat did blow my mind, and it makes sense. Women are burning the candle at both ends. We have corporate pressure, financial burdens, raising kids, caring for aging parents. And oh, don't forget the whole hormonal roller coaster.
Who could forget that one?
The superwoman syndrome is a lie, and it's killing us.
Yeah. I know that you struggled with this for many years, the Superwoman syndrome. What was that like for you in your daily?
Yes, so I'll start back in corporate. I started out in corporate New York. There was a lot of pressure that put me there, but on the outside, I was, as we said, fine. Then I moved out. I entered into entrepreneurship. I ran not one, not two, but three fitness and wellness centers in Silicon Valley
You built those.
from the ground up. And then I threw a couple of kids in there, and
Were they your own kids?
they were my own. So yeah, I was doing it all. And my team was, I had a 30-person team, so I was managing 30 people.
Yeah.
By the third studio. And I was.
That's like relentless pressure on the daily. And as a successful entrepreneur in Silicon Valley, I'm sure you had to, no matter what was going on in the background, you had to present
Right.
this facade of Superwoman.
Right. I'm in the health and fitness industry. So at that time, it was, this person knows what she's doing to take care of herself. So I was just as confused as anyone else. Like, why this burnout? What's wrong with me? That I can't handle all the balls in the air. Yeah.
So what did that mean for you? What was happening behind the scenes then?
I just remember constantly moving around, like constantly cleaning and putting things. I made dinner every night on top of all of that, which is about, I was cooking every single meal. I was trying to eat really healthfully because it's what I did for a living. So I had my lunch. I was biking to yoga class. When I think about it. So but behind the scenes, yeah, I had a good level of anxiety. When I had to do travel, I couldn't get on planes very well. My kids will tell you those stories. Big panic attacks. There were things that were starting to show up that I didn't know what they were about. So this is where the body really starts to tell you, something's not right.
And I know that you also, there came a point where you didn't want to go outside. You just didn't want to do it anymore, right?
Right.
So you'd be crying a lot.
Yes. As they say, the bathroom floor crying, right? Like I didn't know what was wrong with me, but I was not happy. But as I looked out at my life, these were all my decisions.
Right.
I was supposed to be happy. So I think I was right in the middle of the Superwoman syndrome, as they call it.
Well, I guess the takeaway here, Angie, as I see you today and as we know each other, is you got to give your permission to stop. Give yourself permission to stop.
Yes.
Right?
And this is where Little Wonders, honestly, was born, because I was at the end and I wanted to do things that I could do naturally at home. So ladies, you don't need to keep every ball in the air, and those random socks, they don't always need to be matchy every single day. Trust me, the dishwasher, all of the things that we do every day. I was trying to be perfect at that. Not needed. Yeah. Now this one's tough because it's personal for so many women. But listen, wanting things just so can be a trap. Perfectionism isn't just exhausting, it's really isolating. And I don't think I knew that at the time either.
Yeah, perfectionism is definitely the enemy of progress. But this whole thing about women having to be perfect, it comes from a society and the conditioning. You gotta have a spotless home, right?
I did.
You gotta have perfectly packed lunches for the kids.
Oh, gosh.
Their faces have to be perfectly clean. You have to look amazing, right? You got to have everything going on all the time, endless patience. I mean, it's exhausting just even talking about it.
Yes, but here's the hard truth. Perfectionism isn't about being perfect. It's really more about the fear of failure.
Why?
But life isn't safe. And newsflash, it isn't perfect either.
It's okay to leave that bed unmade.
It is.
Once in a while, right?
It's freeing, actually. It's a little freeing.
Now, Angie, the other side of perfectionism is this thing called weaponized incompetence. And that is when your partner does something poorly over and over again just to hear you say, fine, I'll do it myself.
This shifts the burden back onto the other person, and that's often the woman. And what's so sneaky? Sometimes it's deliberate.
No, it's always deliberate. That's why it's called weaponized.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And here's another one.
Oh my.
You hear people say, I'll help with the kids tonight.
Right.
Or let me help you with the cleaning up.
Help?
Right. Because that implies that it's actually your job and I'm going to help you with it.
Help me out.
I'm going to help you out with the kids.
For all your help.
Yeah. And that actually is really annoying, and I think it turns into like a ticking time bomb of resentment.
I
right?
agree. Like we're in this together. So ladies, this behavior erodes trust and respect. If your partner's saying, I'll babysit the kids, remind them it's not babysitting, it's their own children.
Right.
So the solution is have direct conversation about shared responsibilities and call this out when you see it happening.
Yeah. Sometimes that's a tough conversation.
It's true. It's true.
All right, so we've laid out the problems. Now we're going to get to some solutions, Angie, because that's what we're all about here, is giving you some practical tools that you can use on the daily, if you're encountering some of these dynamics. So the first thing that we should talk about is what happens when you're feeling stressed out, overwhelmed, you've had it up to here, and, you're fine.
Right. It's all about stepping into a daily rhythm that anchors your day and allows you to be more proactive than reactive. So this is the secret of Little Wonders. It's not big goals. It's not It's much more about activating simple daily habits that change our lives from within.
Let's talk about what those daily habits look like. And they're so simple, you'll never believe how powerful they are, right? So here's an example of what we're talking about. So you wake up in the morning and the initial reaction for all of us is just to pick up our phone, right? And the moment that you do that, someone else is controlling your day.
100%.
So what we want you to do is when you get up in the morning, I don't want you to pick up your phone until you've done a little bit of stretching and hydrated your body with some warm water, right? And if the kids are in your hair, then I'm sorry to have to tell you, you're going to have to get up earlier, right? You might have to get up at 6 to give yourself that good 30 minutes for yourself without the stress of dealing with other people or your kids.
Right. It's just, and often my clients will ask me, well, how much time? Well, we're saying get up early, or how much time makes a difference? Honestly, 10 minutes is just to be able to, before you get on your phone, you're having your water, even sitting in bed. I have a little tea kettle next to my bed where you make your way down to the kitchen, you go back into your bedroom, you're sitting there, you're going to move right onto, say, a yoga mat and do some stretches on your own. Just something to break up that like instant to the phone and to the kids. It's very hard on us. That's the Superwoman.
Yeah, absolutely. And the beautiful thing about it is, once this becomes part of your routine,
You won't let it go.
you won't let it go. But it also gives you time to be thoughtful and set your intentions for the day.
Yep.
Right?
Yes.
You're not just going into complete overwhelm and reactive, stressed out mode 5 minutes after you've woken up.
Right.
Right?
And the habits that we're giving you are that you'll start to feel different in the body. So you might say, "Oh, what's the big deal? I'm just drinking warm water." But that's a detoxification method. And then you're going into release. So you're actually waking your body up. So you're that much more efficient when you step into the busyness of the day.
All right, let's move on. Let's talk about this other little wonder, and that is the walk that we do after our meals.
Yes. So this will help balance your blood sugar. It's going to help use that food that you just ate.
Yeah.
And it gives you a minute. It gives you that, again, that little time out. So we call them time ins.
Yeah.
So it's a time in without your phone. You're just having a meal and then taking a 10-minute walk, maybe around the block. And there's a second anchor in your day.
Right, exactly. And you can do that after lunch. You can do it after dinner.
Right.
Gives you a little bit of exercise. You get outside. If you're lucky enough to live near a park or somewhere, you're going to enjoy, all the benefits of being around trees and greenery. There's scientific evidence that has tremendous benefits for our mental health.
Yes.
There are all sorts of benefits. I love that one. So the last one we're going to share with you today is, again, building on this concept of having a time in, right? So at some point in the afternoon, you're probably going to say, well, I'm going to have myself a cup of tea, or I'm going to have myself a cup of coffee, or some kind of a beverage. And we want you to take that moment when you're preparing that beverage to just allow yourself to sit and be without distraction. I like to do it when I'm boiling the water for my cup of tea.
Tea guy.
I like to drink tea around 4,
Yes.
and so I make it a matter of intent to stand there while the kettle is boiling, because it gives me 3 or 4 minutes where I can just be in my body and feel what I'm feeling and be in touch with what's going on with me and my day.
Right.
Right? A perfect time.
And that's the time of day that I meditate. So it's that, just what we're saying is the stillness allows you, it's the third anchor of the day. So you're just coming back to yourself, guys. That's all this is. And when you're running and gunning and moving so quickly and it's all about everybody else and everything else, these little anchors in your day, we call little wonders, change your physiology. They change how you get through a day, make it through the day. They change the energy you have to put into the day and to others.
Absolutely. And that's why we call them little wonders, because they really are wonderful. Okay, before we go, let's deal with the two sides of the same coin that we spoke about, which was the perfectionism on one side and the weaponized incompetence on the other side. So, Angie, let it go.
Right. If there's laundry piled up and you've told that high schooler to put his things away, I used to just pick it up and walk it in there, and then I would close the door. In other words, if they're not getting it done, you'll wait till they do get it done, versus that perfectionism of, oh, I'll get it done.
Right.
I'll do it because you haven't done it yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if anyone volunteers to do a job, I'm going to do the vacuuming, let them do it. right?
Let them.
Do not redo it after they've done it, or they will never do it again.
Yes.
It's okay that they're not doing it your way, right?
Right.
The fact that they're doing it is great. And once they get used to doing it, then you might have an opportunity to say, hey, you know what? They have this other attachment that gets into the corners,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So again, it's this idea of these little habits, these little shifts that have big outcomes.
Right.
And it works great for that.
Because
Right?
ultimately, you're teaching people how to treat you, right?
Right.
So
That's what
if
my
they learn, that, oh, mom's going to come in here like a whirlwind very soon and it'll all be taken care of, they are going to keep sitting back and waiting for that.
right.
Yeah.
But another part of the teaching people how to treat us is that if you're starting to get the sneaky suspicion that someone might be feigning incompetence so they don't have to do the stuff they don't want to do, you're going to have a quiet little word with that person,
Yes. Yes.
right?
A convo is in the works.
Yeah.
Yes.
And actually, one of the great techniques that works for that is that I've noticed that you have a really hard time doing the dishes, so I think you need extra practice doing that. You're going to have to do the dishes every night for this week, just so you can get better
at it. Right.
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 And that'll scare the bejesus out of them, and they'll soon be back doing their chores, right?
It's hold people accountable.
Right, exactly.
Before we wrap up, here's our takeaway. Gen X women, it's not all on you. You've been conditioned to carry the world on your shoulders, but you don't have to. Lighten the load, share the responsibility. And remember, perfection isn't the goal. Happiness is.
If today's episode resonated, I want you to take one step forward, right? Remember, it's not about perfection, it's about progress. And you can find everything that we've touched on in today's show on our website at houseoflittlewonders.com. You can pick up our audio mini courses on setting a daily rhythm, as well as find lots of other helpful info about getting your mojo back.
Yes, and if you've liked this podcast, let us know in the comments and pass this along to a person who might need it.
Remember that personal referrals are the best way for a creative work to find its audience.
This has been He Said, She Said, the Gen X Survival Guide. I'm Angie D. Geranimo.
And I'm Brian Asher, and we'll see you next time.